Hey now, Adam. How you doing
What's
today?
up, Sitch? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Today we got some interesting stories. AOC, a little triggered
Right.
today.
Gosh, she's so sexy when she gets triggered. When she
Oh
gets all
my God.
when she gets all she's all out of her mind.
This is why we need to get rid of the blonde AOC emote. Okay.
She's got the Latina energy. She's like, oh
Oh
yeah,
my
I'm so
God.
angry. I'm so angry at you right now. How dare you? How dare you, James Carville?
Let's talk about the news story and not your headcanon fantasies that
Oh,
you've
sorry.
imagined up
Sorry, guys.
for
This is
your
a serious news program
for
here.
your for your fan fictions, okay, that you're writing. Adam is writing an AOC fan fiction.
All right.
So here's a hilarious headline from Fox News. AOC triggered by Carville's knock on preachy females dominating Democratic Party. So you might be saying, what is this all about? What is she even talking about? What's going on here?
Right. Oh
So
man. Oof.
so there's a guy named James Carville. He's an old guy. He's been
Hmm.
around for a while. He's almost 80, I think. And he's been a Democratic strategist. He famously was the lead strategist for Bill Clinton in 1992 when he
Hmm.
won the presidential campaign. So that's where he kind of like really got national attention. And he's kind of an interesting guy because I don't know if you know this, but James Carville is married to a woman named Mary Motlin, who is a
Hmm.
Republican, a famous Republican political strategist, who was actually the campaign director for George Bush Sr.
Yeah, how's that work? I mean, what's the bedroom talk like in
Yeah,
that household, right? Are they sharing secrets? I mean, he's literally sleeping with the enemy, Sitch.
that is, I mean, that's what's interesting is like, yeah, you can imagine people that are married that have different political takes, but to not only have different political takes, but to work like very high level positions for completely opposite political parties and candidates is that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, you'd think there had to be some secret keeping going on, right?
I mean, there'd have
Look
to
at
be, right?
nobody
Obviously.
wants to keep secrets from their spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Come
Mm-hmm.
on. That's a recipe for disaster.
Well, I mean, you got, I guess, as long as they both accept it, right?
Okay.
So, anyways, he had an interview with the New York Times recently. And in the interview, he said some very interesting things. He said, a suspicious of mine, a suspicion of mine is that there are too many preachy females dominating the culture of the Democratic Party. Don't drink beer. Don't watch football. Don't eat hamburgers. This is not good for you. The message is too feminine. Everything you're doing is destroying the planet. You've got to eat your peas.
Well, hell, that's just good advice. That's good political advice right there.
So this
Yeah.
is him. This is him describing how people feel about the Democratic Party. He also says, if you listen to Democratic elites, NPR is my go-to place for that. The whole talk is about how women and women of color are going to decide this election. And I'm like, well, 48% of the people that vote are males. Do you mind if they have some consideration?
Yeah, look, this is great. What sorts of what is AOC hissing about? That's what I want to know.
Well, you want to know for other reasons. Okay.
I want to know for all kinds of reasons.
You want to know to add to your fanfic. No, but this is great. So we have, a prominent Democrat strategist who's pushing back on basically woke stuff and describing what I think we've all started to see and acknowledge that the Democrat Party has basically become a party of women.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, and I guess I hate to say it, but it's like becoming very female dominant in terms of how it phrases its issues and the issues it cares about.
Yeah,
And I just
when the Democratic Party sounds like your nagging ex-girlfriend, it's time to mix it up a bit.
yeah. You don't think that's gonna work? You don't think people will be like, yeah, I want to vote for the nagging ex?
Yeah, look, nobody shows up to the polls to vote for their nagging ex-girlfriend.
I mean, and I think the Democrats they don't understand like the reason that men put up with the nagging is because they think that maybe they'll get sex out of it.
Oh yeah, exactly.
They're like, I got to put up with this really annoying nagging, but I'm gonna get something out of it I want. The Democrat Party they're not gonna send AOC over to fulfill that role for you, right? So it's getting all the nagging, but without the benefit or the perceived benefit.
Exactly. Yes.
So AOC, in response to this, she said, maybe he should start a podcast about it. I hear men are really underrepresented in that space.
Okay, well, that's actually a good comeback.
Is it?
Yeah, look, the podcast space is just completely dominated by men. Have you listened to women's podcasts, Sitch? They're
That's
atrocious.
why they're dominated by men, Adam. Come on, what are you talking about?
I know, I know. But I mean, it's funny. At least AOC knows that, right?
I don't think it's yeah, but I mean, it doesn't. To me, it's a classic sort of leftist deflection. James here is bringing up a point about how the party's being perceived by people, as you're saying, being your naggy, preachy ex-girlfriend. And
Right.
it's annoying, and people are turned off by that. And her response is like, "Oh my God, you're sexist."
Yeah, yeah.
That's her
Well, look,
response. Yeah.
I think the joke about men dominating the podcast space is funny. I mean, she nailed it. She
Yeah, but
did nail it.
mhm.
But I get what you're saying. Look, she's not responding to the substance of the argument. She's
But the
just
joke,
basically
the joke is not. It's not a joke saying like the joke is pointing to the fact that men overrepresent the podcast space for reasons which I assume she would believe is because of sexism, not because of
right.
anything merit related.
Right. Yeah. And Carville should snap back. Listen, have you listened to women's podcasts? It's obvious why men dominate the podcast sphere.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, whatever. Get a little sexism back and forth going. That would be good for Carville because, look,
Hmm.
this would bring this into day 2, round 2, right? This story would
Right.
get legs. All of a sudden, it'd be the two of them fighting over sexism.
You know,
Something everyone can engage in.
it's unfortunate in the realms of trying to expunge wokeness or neo-Marxism or whatever you want to call it from the left. It's very unfortunate that Biden is so old and uh, feeble because so if Biden, assuming Biden makes it to November, okay, which who knows, right? But assuming he does, if he loses the election to Trump, it's going to be like most of the focus is going to be probably on his age primarily. But if it wasn't for that, and say he actually did lose because all the leftists and young kids were just so triggered about Israel and were so triggered about, Biden trying to do things about immigration, that would actually be the perfect like wedge issue to get the mainstream left to attack and go after the online internet socialist woke left, because then they would say we lost because of these radicals, in the party, and we need to do something about it. But that's not going to happen if Biden loses, just because everyone will say, well, he lost because he's so old, and that's why people didn't vote for him.
Yeah, there's a perfect scapegoat with Biden, the age thing. Yeah.
Right.
They're never going to blame wokeness for it. They're going to say,
I think
look,
like some
we
people
didn't
will,
go
but it
woke
won't be enough.
enough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some people say that, but so it's just unfortunate.
Any
This
more
is the
juicy
world we
lines
live
from
in.
AOC?
No, that was it.
That's all she said? That's all
That's
they
all she
quoted?
said. That's all she said on Twitter.
Look, I can't imagine a woman speaking.
That tersely.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
know.
This seems like fake news to me.
Well, the other thing, she had to go off, and she was, attacking Israel for doing a genocide, and all that stuff. So
Mhm.
that's, she went immediately in that direction afterwards.
Look, as someone who just did a 7-hour live stream yesterday,
Hmm.
am I living in a glass house? I'm talking about women talking too much. I think I might be. I think
Well,
it might
listen,
be.
us doing a 7.5 hour stream
Mhm.
on a 2 hour video is like a record for us.
Oh yeah, a lot of people were
Right.
saying there was not a lot of commentary, but
People were saying that was a short stream for us.
yeah,
We only
they were
added
saying
five
that.
hours of content. Okay, how dare us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. It was a lot of fun anyway. I had a blast. All right. I guess AOC is going to continue to be triggered over this.
Hmm.
She's basically signaling that, yeah, hell yeah, we took over the Democratic Party. We don't need men in the Democratic Party anymore. Get out of here. James Carville, go suck it. Go start your podcast. It's over for you. The
Well,
the Democrat is the Democratic force is female, bro.
well, we keep seeing little cracks against sort of the wokeness that's forming in important Democratic pundits.
Hmm.
The question is, will it be enough? Will tides change? Uncertain. But cracks are better than nothing.
Yeah.
Brian Bishop for $2 says, read today's chats together, Sitch. What does that mean? What do you mean? Read today's chats together?
Hmm. Yeah. What does that mean?
What does that mean? You you want me to read all
Maybe. Oh,
the
Brian
chats you're
Bishop's.
putting
Yeah.
together? Is that what you're saying?
You normally do that. He's got like three of them here. He's got
Oh, okay,
two,
sure.
10, 10,
Well,
$30. What's up,
I'll
Brian?
read.
Thanks for all the
Thanks,
super
Brian.
chats. Yeah.
Brian for $30. Thank you.
Hmm.
Says after 14 years, Sitch left the sea for a life upon a lake. After all the storms he'd seen, he needed a good break. He thought still waters would mean peace for him, but that was a mistake. For the place he chose was bedeviled by a giant evil drake, a mallard of such malice, twice the size of any man, a bill to give you nightmares, and a monstrous wingspan. You cannot
Wow.
hope to fight it, so avoid him if you can. Oh, I guess there's going to be more for this epic Iliad type poem.
This is so
I like
based.
this. I like. Okay, I'll give you some more time to finish that up, but it seems pretty awesome.
Yeah, we might have to reread that with some
Okay.
nice music, a little background
Oh,
tune. I'll
really?
play a
Okay.
little harmonica.
Okay. I don't know if harmonica is nice music, but
Depends.
the Texan for $20. Thank you, Texan. Says, I'm right there with you, Adam. I can fix her. I can fix AOC. A Team reigns supreme, and Blunty Fly is my guy. There you go.
Yeah. Look, fixer, you just need to you just need to control her. That's it.
Wow.
You don't have to fix her.
Terrible.
She's perfect as is.
Terrible.
You just need a good strong leash and a collar.
Oh my God. Look at this.
Look, I'm joking. This is a comedy show, okay? Look, those are jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Women
Mm-hmm.
don't belong on leashes.
I thought you were gonna say they don't belong on the internet.
Oh yeah, that too.
Moondoggy for $5 says my friends and I would laugh at AOC for saying she was from the Bronx when we found out she grew in Westchester. Look at that. What a
Oh
poser.
yes.
What a
Totally.
poser. Oh my God.
Westchester girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure.
Um, the Knight of the Diamond Spoon for $10 says, am I the only one who finds Dr. Diddler's name disturbing? Is he a person that diddles doctors, or is he a doctor that diddles?
We've asked him before, but he won't fess up, so
That's
we don't
right.
actually know.
That's true.
Yes. Yeah, it is disturbing, obviously. I don't know why he chose that name, but what are you going to do?
Okay, so do you want to move on?
Yeah, there was one super chat that we missed yesterday on the live.
That was the one
stream.
I just read.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I guess we're moving on. Moving on.
Want to talk about the UN or David Sachs?
Oh, David Sachs. Let's talk about that loser. That poser.
Yeah, so David Sachs, he has this podcast. He has a really weird tweet. So I'm sure most of you know there was a massive terrorist attack in Russia over the weekend.
Yes.
And basically you had a bunch of people stormed a concert hall, I believe, right?
Yeah, I don't know much about the terrorist attack. I do believe it was in a concert hall. I think
It was the
30
Crocus
people.
City Hall Theater.
Okay. And like
It was on
30 people
Friday.
died.
Yeah.
And they went around with automatic weapons and
basically just started shooting as many people as they could.
Down, yeah.
Yeah. And then they set the building on fire, and a lot of it collapsed, and they're kind of like going through the rubble and still finding people and stuff like that.
Okay.
So it says that so far they believe that at least 133 people were killed in this attack.
Oh wow. When I thought it was only 30.
Yeah, the number keeps going up. Like you're finding more bodies. And another 100 at least were wounded. And so this attack was in Moscow, and there is video of these people like in the building shooting people. There's also video from people who were victims, on their cell phones filming it. And right when this happened, everyone was like, who did this? What's going on here? Who committed this attack? And a spin-off group of ISIS called ISIS-K said that they did it. They claimed responsibility for this pretty quickly, that it
Wow.
was their action. And not only did ISIS-K, they said that they did it, but most other intelligence organizations around the world, including the US, all seem to confirm that they also believed that the ISIS-K group did this. And on top of it, there was in earlier this month, the beginning of it was like March 7th, the United States actually warned and made a public statement that they believed that there was going to be a terrorist attack in a large gathering in Russia. And they said specifically like to watch out for any American citizens in Russia who are in concert halls. And they warned the government about this, the Russian government about this, and they made the statement
Wow.
publicly
The
in March 7th.
conspiracy nuts are just going to go crazy over
Right.
that.
Now, in that warning, they did say they thought it was going to happen within the next 48 hours, and obviously that didn't happen because that was weeks before. But apparently, also after that, U.S. had still continued to warn Russia that they believed that there was some kind of imminent pending terrorist attack that was going to be committed in Russia. And
They might have
actually,
postponed it just because of the report.
that's true. That's
Yeah.
definitely possible. And but in response to this, so how did Russia respond to the United States kind of like warning about this terrorist attack? It was it was last week. So like a week before this a terrorist attack actually just happened, Putin actually criticized the United States for this, for claiming this, saying that they thought it was all bullshit. Putin said he thought that this threat that the US was warning about was bullshit, saying this resembles outright blackmail and the intention to intimidate and destabilize our society and is frankly provocative.
I knew he was going to spin it that way.
Right.
He's like,
So,
why are you threatening me?
yeah, right. Right. So, in response to America basically warning him that there's going to be a terrorist attack, he says, no, they're just trying to scare us and, make people in our society worried, essentially. And then, obviously, a week later, an actual terrorist attack occurs
Right.
in a concert hall, much the way that America had warned them about. So, of course, we can't just have like people say, okay, well, ISIS claimed responsibility for this. America and other organizations warned Russia about this in the future, and I'm sorry, in advance, and they basically dropped the ball. They didn't take it seriously. No, of course, people have to say, oh, well, actually, it was really Ukraine that did this terrorist attack, Adam.
Yeah. Who would say such an idiotic thing?
So we have David Sachs here, who says if the Ukrainian government was behind the terrorist attack, as looks increasingly likely, the U.S. must renounce it, else we become complicit. The U.S. would never forgive a terrorist attack like this, and neither will the Russians. Okay.
Wow.
So here's what's interesting. He says it looks increasingly likely that the Ukraine was behind this. You might say, well, what is the evidence that Ukraine is behind this? What is he talking about here? Even though Ukraine has denied responsibility for this exact thing. And actually, there was a good reply to this by a Constantine underneath.
Nice.
And Constantine says Russian sources were the first to report this as an Islamic terrorist attack. ISIS has since claimed responsibility. All the arrested men are reported to be Tajik nationals, and they barely speak Russian. Their initial testimony is they were recruited after consuming Islamist content on Telegram by the assistant of a cleric in Turkey. There have been repeated prior warnings in Russian media about ISIS-K activity as early as March 8th. I have screenshotted one such warning for you, and he screenshots a warning in Russian on Telegram. Russia has a long history of being the target of Islamic terrorism, not only with the Beslan and Nordost, but with dozens of smaller scale attacks too. What is your basis for implicating Ukraine in this? And you know what his response was?
Crickets.
That's right.
He didn't respond. Yeah, of course.
There was no response, of course. Yeah.
Look, David Sachs is still towing the Putin was afraid of NATO line after the Tucker Carlson interview. where Putin just kind of was like, nah, NATO wasn't really that big a deal. Listen, I want to get the Russian Empire back together. That's what I want to do, Tucker. Like,
Hmm.
how can you still toe that line after that interview?
I mean, you can, because if it helps your narrative and you don't want to be wrong, I guess, because you've been making that claim for over a year, right?
Yeah, yeah, no. That claim is like all way up in there. That claim's not coming out.
And I was trying to think, like, okay, this claim that the Ukraine really did this action, to me, on its just on its face, seems to be one of the dumbest things I can think of. Because what
Right.
would possibly be the motivation for Ukraine to do this?
Yeah, I mean, if Ukraine was actually responsible for this and it could be proven, I mean, that gives Putin cover to do all kinds of crazy things. Maybe
Yes,
nuke Kiev.
yes. Which, they actually on Friday they scrambled a bunch of bombers like they were gonna do some crazy bombing run or
Yeah.
something on Ukraine.
Yeah.
Um, because it's like, okay, it like let's just think about this logistically or logically. Let's look at this. So if it was a Ukrainian terrorist organization, the point of doing a terrorist attack from a Ukrainian standpoint would be, oh, we want the Russian citizens to feel the sting of the war, right? They're too comfortable sitting in their cities and we want them to feel the sting of the war, right? And they should be afraid the way that we're afraid. But that doesn't work if Ukraine doesn't take credit for it at all. So
Right.
that motivation has to be thrown out. And you say, okay, well, what other motivation would there be? Well, some people are saying, well, they want to make Putin look weak, right? They want the people in Russia to be afraid of being attacked by terrorists. They want to make him look weak, like he can't protect them. I'm like, okay, maybe it's possible that that could be an outcome. But what's more possibly, which is to me more likely an outcome, especially since we already had a failed coup attempt in Russia, is that what happened to America after a terrorist attack? Did they turn on George W. Bush and say, hey, he's weak, he can't protect us? Or did everyone galvanize support around him?
Yeah. They galvanize support.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, so Ukraine's going to commit a terrorist attack in Russia and kill a bunch of civilians, which would have a very strong likelihood of actually having the Russian population um, actually strengthen their support of Putin, strengthen their dislike and hatred of Ukraine, and actually support more military efforts against Ukraine because of this terrorist attack on random civilian people. What like unless the argument is that the Ukrainians are the dumbest fucking people on the planet. This concept is so stupid to me, and I don't understand. Well, I guess I do understand, but it makes no logical sense how stupid people would be to try to push the narrative that Ukraine would have any sort of remote benefit from doing this, especially when the most obvious thing on the planet, the most obvious thing on the entire planet of Putin's reaction to this, which is what everyone's afraid of in the West, is that Putin will use this to try to blame Ukraine to justify all sorts of increased military action against Ukraine. That's what
Yeah.
everyone's afraid of because it's the most fucking obvious move on the entire face of the earth. And somehow the fucking dumb Ukrainians that did this secret terrorist attack couldn't predict the most obvious response.
Yeah. It makes it seem like maybe David Sachs is towing this line just to give Putin cover so that he can up his attacks on Ukraine. I mean, David Sachs really just, I mean, he's had terrible commentary throughout this entire ordeal
Mm-hmm.
that just, I mean, they sound like, straight out of Moscow talking points. And look, you can legitimately have those views. Just because your views align with Moscow doesn't necessarily mean they're not, you're towing the party line. They're not
Mm-hmm.
your own personal views. But they
Yeah, I don't think.
do
Mhm.
align with Moscow like 100% of the time.
Right.
When has David Sachs ever said anything that is pro-Ukrainian?
I don't know. I'm not. Yeah.
I don't think he ever has.
Mm-hmm. But
Yeah.
just it's and I mean I don't think David Sack's being like paid off by Russia or anything, but it's this is part of the problem with we were talking about the other day where once we have a lot of our institutions, our government and our journalist institutions basically lose credibility because of lies, it puts people in like a mindset, like a lazy mindset where they say, oh, well, because in the past the journalists were wrong about something, because the government lied or was wrong about something, I'm just going to automatically assume the opposite of everything they say. So if the US government is claiming that they think ISIS did this, it must be the exact opposite. It must actually be Ukraine, which is the laziest way of thinking. When you just take like, a couple of minutes to say like, why the fuck would Ukraine even do this? It makes absolutely no sense. All signs would point to this actually harming Ukraine in the long run and not actually helping Ukraine whatsoever. And it's like so obvious how this would hurt Ukraine and not help Ukraine.
Yeah, I'm not sure what David Sack's motivation is. It is interesting. I've heard him have some pretty contentious back and forth with the other hosts on All In podcast. Like his line has always been, America is responsible for this. Like there was a deal on the table. Russia was ready to sign. Ukraine was ready to sign. And we basically put them up to it. Like he totally buys into the 2014 coup scenario that a lot of people are claiming. The Maidan revolution was a American backed coup, and basically Ukraine is a puppet state of America. He buys into all of that stuff. And I think it might just be because he despises Democrats and Democrats are for supporting Ukraine. So he's got to be against it. That it might be as simple as that.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I don't know.
But
So,
one of the other hosts, the main host, like every time this stuff comes up, he completely claps back with shouldn't Ukraine have a right to defend themselves? Like if we had people, and it's kind of funny because I mean, he's monomaniacal on this, like Ukraine sucks train, David Sachs
right,
is. And I just
right.
look at, maybe it's because he likes Tucker Carlson. They had Tucker Carlson on the show. They did an interview with Tucker Carlson, and all the other hosts were like ribbing David Sachs about how much he just wants to have Tucker Carlson's baby. And like, he just is all fucking up inside Tucker Carlson. And this is like his dream show because he gets to talk to Tucker Carlson in person.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe
Yeah.
it's just, he's parroting what Tucker Carlson says because oh God, I got to listen to Tucker Carlson today. I got to get my brain download from Tucker Carlson.
Right.
That could
Right.
be it.
That could be. That
Look,
could be it. Yeah.
he's like a bazillionaire. I think he was like one of the first investors in like Amazon or something.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just like, this guy is just, money's coming out of every orifice. So what does he care if he's right or wrong? Right? He just wants some shit to talk about on his podcast, so he can be on his all male podcast. So that he can, be the contrarian of the show, right? Everyone can
Mm-hmm.
kind of just be like, oh God, here comes David Sachs with his fucking the 2014 coup thing again. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's just annoying to me that basically, we've had this contingency of, America bad, America is evil, mindset on the left for a
Mhm.
long time. And so he's kind of existed on like the left and edges of the left. It's just annoying to me to see that now we have a lot of people on the right who have the America bad brain rot and essentially just, all they do is push this to their audience every day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people eat it up even when it makes absolutely no sense, like in this situation where it makes absolutely no sense. And even like so far, and we don't know because if you look at okay, so like we don't even know what Russia's exact response is. Russia kind of signaled early that they're gonna maybe try to associate it with Ukraine, not by saying that the people themselves were Ukrainian or were being paid by Ukraine, but by saying that they plan to supposedly, this is what Russia's claiming. They're claiming that after the terrorist attack, they were going to run away to Ukraine. So they're trying to make some kind of loose connection there. But another big problem with this is like, I don't know if you've seen these videos. These videos are like insane. They have like 4 or 5 guys that the Russians are claiming are the people that they believe did this terrorist attack.
Did they capture them alive or are they dead?
They captured them alive,
Okay.
which is already kind of unusual.
Well,
But
look, I mean, it makes sense for me. It makes sense that ISIS would attack them. Isn't Chechnya mostly Muslim? I think the vast majority of Chechens are Muslim. So
yeah, no, this,
and didn't they
yeah,
invade and take over
yes,
Chechnya?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
So look, what is confusing about this?
right. But
Yeah.
no. But the thing that is like the potential problem here is that so they've captured these 4 or 5 guys that they're claiming are the people that did this terrorist attack. Now, obviously, we don't know if that's true or not
Hmm.
because the problem is they took these 4 or 5 guys and they're just torturing the shit out of them.
Oh,
And
that's great.
not only are they torturing the shit out of them, but they're promoting that they're torturing the shit out of them.
Right.
Like they're literally putting out pictures of one of the guys with his pants pulled down. They have like
Oh
electric
my
wires on his
God. No
genitals or
way.
something. They had one guy that they cut off his ear and they were trying to make him eat his own ear
Oh my God. And
and all
they're
this other.
asking him, they're like, tell us America did this, right? Tell us America did
Well, see,
this.
but so the thing is like, okay, so in terms of like okay, if these are the guys that did it, like I don't really feel bad for them or care, but that's like to me that's like a level one analysis of what we're thinking here because one of the most common tactics in all the entire world from the dawn of human empires and civilizations is that when someone does some kind of heinous crime, the government wants to look strong, so they want to immediately capture the perpetrator of the crime and then they torture them essentially to elicit any sort of admission of guilt, right? This is like one of the most common practices we've ever seen. In fact,
Sure.
people were talking about how there's a Netflix series that just recently came out that was kind of showing how this was done in communist China, where basically they'd have the enemies of the communist Chinese would be paraded on stage and they'd been tortured that they'd come on and admit guilt and they'd basically ask for um, forgiveness or sympathy. I mean, we even saw this, and I hate to bring up a fictional example, but this was even like, one of the main plot points in Game of Thrones and happens in the first season of Game of Thrones. And so this is just a very, very common thing that we've seen. So it wouldn't be that surprising to me if they just got like 4 or 5 random assholes and are just, I should say assholes, but possibly 4 or 5 innocent people and are just horribly torturing them to get them to say whatever they want to say.
Yeah. Torture him long enough and he'll admit to starting the Chicago fire.
Right. So I don't know. So I do think this whole thing is concerning in terms of, you know, what how Russia will try to spin this if they'll try to spin it, which wouldn't be that surprising if they would do it. And then to just see like the idiot brigade come out and try to, the America bad brainwashed people on the left and right just try to say, oh, that was secretly. I saw people were claiming that they thought that it was secretly the CIA that was behind this, that it was, the American weapons manufacturers behind this or something like the dumbest fucking shit I've ever heard. So
Well, it's the internet, Sitch. So,
I know.
I mean, what are you going to do?
Yes.
This is where dumb shit comes to propagate.
Yep.
But it seems pretty. ISIS claim responsibility. There's all that Chechnya shit. I mean, this seems pretty. I mean, this is cut and dry.
Right.
Case closed, open and shut, right?
It seems to be pretty cut and dry here in terms of that.
Yeah.
Apparently, Russia has already launched ballistic missiles and has blown up the security service of Ukraine building.
Oh, wow.
Where is this
So they are
building?
using this as an excuse to, like, I would be worried about nukes. Look, you're
Yes.
engaging a nuclear power here,
Hmm.
which sucks, but you can't necessarily start suicide bombing Moscow and think
Right.
you're not going to get some sort of nuclear retaliation. They have suitcase nukes. They have missiles. They could launch a missile into Kiev.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, actually, wait, this article is so misleading because the picture it has like a picture of rubble,
Hmm.
which makes you think, oh, okay, so they like blew up this security building, security service of Ukraine building in Kiev. And but then when you read the article, it says two ballistic missiles were launched from Russia towards Kiev on Monday and were aimed at the SBU offices, but both missiles, according to the Ukrainian Air Force, were shot down and didn't reach the target.
Oh, well, that's good.
So why is there a picture of rubble in the,
So they didn't hit the security forces
did they hit something else? Why is there just a picture of rubble in the article?
because they look journalists. They have no sense of ethics. They're like, get me a picture of rubble for my
Oh no,
story.
okay. Actually, no, the shot down missiles did end up
Destroying an
damaging
apartment building.
two buildings. It says nine people were injured
Oh, that
when the
sucks.
falling debris damaged two buildings.
That
Okay, so I
sucks.
guess that's what the pictures were.
We saved the Ukrainian CIA,
Right,
but
right, right.
unfortunately, your apartment and all your family
Got
died.
blown up. Yeah,
Yeah.
right, right. So,
Oh, that sucks.
um,
Horrifying.
terrible. Okay, so that's that story.
That was a great story, Sitch.
Thank you.
Now let's get back to this duck poem.
Okay, let's hear the full duck poem.
Start at the beginning, and
I'll start at the beginning.
I want it to be, a moving
Mm,
performance. Okay.
okay. After 14 years, Sitch left the sea for a life upon a lake after all the storms he'd seen. He needed a good break. He thought still waters would mean peace for him. But that was a mistake. For the place he chose was bedeviled by a giant evil drake, a mallard of such malice, twice the size of any man, a bill to give you nightmares, and a monstrous wingspan. You cannot hope to fight it, so avoid him if you can. Row ho, row ho, row with all your might, row, with harpoons loaded and spoiling for a fight. Row ho, and with any luck, we'll win the day and do away with the dreaded horse-sized duck.
Oh,
Thank you, Brian.
that was beautiful.
Brian
That
says,
was amazing.
thank you, Brian. Brian took 20, 30, 40, $50, $52 for that. Thank you, Brian. Brian says, getting that through the censorship was a dad blam it nightmare. A team reigns supreme. I ripped the lyrics from Moby Duck by the longest Johns. Just seemed like we needed a shanty about the horse-sized duck. Thank you.
That was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
Bravo.
Well
So
done.
you can't say
Well done.
evil? You,
I guess not. That's weird. Yeah, you have to censor
you
the words
can't
evil.
say
That doesn't make any
evil?
sense.
Evil. Oh, I misspelled it.
Okay. Anyways, so next story. Let's talk about the UN, Adam.
Did we read the AOC one? Oh, yeah, the
Yeah, we
Westchester
did.
girl. We got it. We're all caught up. Okay. What's
Yep.
next?
UN.
All right. UN.
So the UN Security Council. Okay, this is the UN Security Council. So the resolutions actually matter.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of. Maybe.
Is this a New
Possibly.
York Times article? Okay. New York
Yes.
Times. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. So the UN Security Council today passed a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza.
All right.
Now you might say, how did this happen? Because America, the way the Security Council works, is that if any one member or any of the one of the five permanent members have the ability to veto anything, and this is why it's very rare that Security Council measures actually pass. But the UN, the United States,
Did not
abstained from
veto.
the vote. Look at
Did
that.
really? Wow. Okay. Biden
Okay.
is really working it. He's trying to get reelected.
Yeah, this is interesting though. This definitely shows a pretty strong break with between Biden and Bibi Netanyahu, as United States, instead of shooting down this resolution, actually abstained to allow it to pass.
Yeah, but is it a non-binding resolution? I notice it's not in the headline.
Well, that's part of the issue here. So
Yeah.
actually, I wanted to read the actual resolution myself. and you can't yet.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you can go to the UN website and you can go to their 2024 resolutions and you can click the link of where it's supposed to be, it just gives you an error page.
Ooh,
Okay.
ouch. That's not
So we
good.
actually, yeah, and I haven't actually seen anyone report the exact text of the resolution, but what people do report what it says. This is why I say sort of maybe it's supposed to be binding, but maybe not. Is that what the resolution claims is that it's saying that they're demanding a ceasefire for the month of Ramadan
Oh,
from
okay.
Israel, but they're also demanding that Hamas release all their hostages.
Oh, that's good. I've been waiting for this resolution.
Mm-hmm. Which the reason I wanted to read it is I'm like, well, what if they don't release the hostages?
Bomb the
Does that
shit
mean,
out of.
yeah, I mean, is it like a stipulation if they release all the hostages, Israel has to do a ceasefire, or are they just saying Israel has to do a ceasefire, Hamas has to release the hostages, and then if Hamas doesn't, Israel still has to do the ceasefire? Like, what are the rules of this resolution exactly?
Yeah. Okay.
My guess would be that none of this is going to matter because Hamas is obviously not going to release the hostages. So Israel is going to just say, well, they didn't release the hostages. So obviously we're not going to follow this. So go F yourself. And this is all for naught. And all the people that are like pointing to this as some sort of amazing thing, it's just kind of a virtue signal. That's essentially a huge waste of time.
Well, I mean, it's all political. The whole UN is political. So
Mm-hmm.
the resolution passed with 14 votes in favor. Traitors.
Right.
The United States abstained, allowing the resolution to pass. The chamber broke into applause after
There you
the
go.
vote. Don't you love that?
I love it. We're all
And they all
plotting
stood up
for
and applauded.
massive virtue signal.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now it's interesting. Apparently, America wanted to add into the resolution uh, a denouncement for the Hamas's attack in October, the October 7th attack, and the UN didn't agree to that. They
Right.
didn't want to put a condemnation of Hamas's October 7th attack in the in the resolution.
Open air prison, Sitch.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised they didn't throw a condemnation of Israel in.
I am surprised. So that's probably going to, my guess is that's probably going to go absolutely nowhere and is going to mean absolutely nothing. And even though the Security Council resolutions have authority on its own, it's still like they still have to basically use a different resolution to sort of enforce some kind of mechanism, which is apparently not included in this. So it all seems to be a big nothing burger, at least so far.
All right.
Okay. There's another interesting story today. So we talked about how Donald Trump got hit with this massive judgment
Yeah.
for, almost $500 million. And he was supposed to have to pay that up today,
Oh,
Adam.
today's the deadline for that, right? I've
Today
heard
was the
people talking
deadline.
about this.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
$454 million, he'd have to post this in order. By the way, he'd have to post this amount in order to even appeal the judgment in the first place. And it was basically impossible to get this amount because obviously he doesn't have that much money in cash and liquid. Most of it's probably tied up in real estate or in stocks and other investments. And he couldn't find any company that would want to underwrite the bail or the
Right.
bond, I should
Oh
say,
God. Donald Trump is
um,
jumping at that.
for
Yeah, loan me.
$454 million because most of them, maybe they don't really trust Donald Trump. Maybe they don't want the bad publicity, but also just because most of them don't really accept property, especially for that high level. Like it's pretty insane for someone to write a $454 million,
Yeah.
bond. So, but Trump did get some relief today, the day that it was supposed to be due. A New York appeals court on Monday agreed to hold off collecting that $454 million amount and has now given Trump 10 extra days to collect a far lower amount of $175 million.
Mm. Yeah.
So
Nice.
I saw a lot of people on the left, and I think this was because first of all, I think that this case against Trump seemed to be kind of bullshit. least from my reading of it, seemed to be pretty BS. This was the case where they were saying that he was lying about property values, essentially. And even though even if it's true that he was lying about property values, if the bank that he was getting loans from didn't care and he paid off the loans, to me, it seems kind of ridiculous for you to kind of drag up this big deal about it and then also drag up a big deal about it to the tune of $454 million. Does seem to me to be highly political and just, an attack on Donald Trump for his person rather than within the legal merits of the case. But beyond that, a lot of people on the left, I think, were just sort of solidifying that idea because they were jumping up and down for joy about the idea of bankrupting Donald Trump and basically forcing him to sell Trump Tower or Mar-a-Lago or some other Trump properties that he really likes in order to pay off this amount just to appeal it. And to me, when you have a bunch of people jumping up and down for that, it just makes it incredibly clear that this is done entirely for political reasons and not, we were talking about kind of like what's the difference between force and justice. And this made it seem like there wasn't really a lot. The fact that people were like taking such joy in this makes it seem like there really wasn't much justice in the situation. It was purely just tribal political.
Yeah, they're trying to clean him out so he can't run for president.
Yeah.
Nakedly political. So did he come up with 175 million?
Well, he has 10 days to do so.
Okay. Court agrees to stop New York from seizing Trump's assets if he puts up 175 million within 10 days. I just looked up what Trump Tower is worth, and I don't even know if he owns Trump Tower in New York City. But according to the internet, it is worth $56 million. That seems so low to me. Like, I don't know. Yeah, that just seems weird. Okay. Like a giant office building is only worth $56 million?
Well, is that how much it's worth or how much they think they could sell it for?
Forbes estimates the net value of Trump's office and retail holdings for this building is $56 million. Well, maybe he only owns part of the building. Maybe that's what's going on.
Right, maybe.
How much is 40 Wall Street worth? Oh, the once proud tower today is worth 200 million, brokers say. Less than half of its estimated value 10 years ago. Oh my God, this is about the retail. This is the problem because the commercial real estate is in the fucking toilet right now.
Well, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, so it was worth, I don't know what 40 Wall Street is, but maybe that's the Trump Tower. How much does Trump Tower earn? Okay. I just tried to look up the value, but anyway, back to the article.
Well, it should be significantly easier for him to find 175 million, either liquidate from his own assets or to find someone to underwrite 175 million.
Of course,
be significantly easier than the whopping 454 million.
Of course, and it shows that he's working on it also.
Yes.
So the New York Appeals Court on Monday agreed to hold off collection from former President Donald Trump more than 454 million civil fraud judgment if he puts up 175 million within 10 days. So he's got 10 days to put up the money. And is he I haven't read this entire article. Is he working on putting up the money?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, so his lawyers had proposed that it would be 100 million earlier,
right?
Like last month. So they didn't get the 100 million they wanted, but obviously 175 is definitely a lot better for them than 454.
Right.
So it looks like all the people that were celebrating Donald Trump having to sell all of his properties, that won't come to pass here.
This says Trump maintained on social media on Friday that he has almost 500 million in cash, but intends to use much of it on his presidential run. He has accused James and Egron, who's also a Democrat, of seeking to take the cash away so we can't use it on the campaign. Well, I think that's a pretty reasonable claim. I think that's factual. I think all of this is basically to take his presidential war chest. They would love nothing more than to see Donald Trump run against Joe Biden with the airwaves flooded with ads about Charlottesville, right?
Hmm.
And Trump can't run one ad against it, right?
Right.
All of them. Trump praised neo-Nazis in Charlottesville. And
Hmm.
what can Trump do? He's got to sit on his hands like all his money's tied up in this court case. Ugh.
Yeah,
Anyway, that would be no
exactly.
fun. Come on, let's have a real election here, guys.
Hmm.
You're called Democrats.
Yeah.
It's
Like
called democracy.
Trump should bring back Hillary just so he can chant for her to get locked up, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Look, Sitch coming out. Sitch is like, listen, Trump is a big fat hypocrite.
I'm just pointing it out, okay? That you're right. Trump is a pretty big hypocrite. He ran after literally throwing his political opponent in jail.
But he didn't lock her up, Sitch, and he
That's
told
true.
his attorney general not to go after Hillary. After his attorney general told him he couldn't go after her.
You mean after he told his attorney general to go after Hillary, he said that he wouldn't do it.
Right, yeah. He
Yeah.
was for going after her until he was against it when
Yeah,
his
exactly.
attorney general said, "Look, we can't do that." Yeah.
Right, right.
Basically slapped him down. Is that going to happen this time? I don't know. Everyone's saying he's going to get a bunch of sycophants in there, but I guess we'll see.
I guess we'll see. I don't
Yeah.
I think it's definitely if Trump wins, I think it's definitely possible that this would be my guess. Okay. If Trump wins, that he will put in some attorney general who will definitely open investigations into charging Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, maybe Obama and Hillary too, and a bunch of other people. And that
Mm-hmm.
investigation will will go on for a year or 2 years, but that nothing really will manifest from it. Nothing substantial basically manifest from it. That'd be my guess as to what would happen.
All right.
JMac, our surrogate father for $20. Thank you so much. Says now we need the live action movie adaptation. What would we call it?
Is that for the duck thing?
That's for the duck thing. Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Duck's Life?
What? No, that's that's terrible.
Oh, okay.
That's
Well,
terrible.
the duck is kind of like a monster, right?
Hmm.
I don't know. What's a good duck monster movie name?
We should call it um, The Amazing Adventure of How PSA Sitch, the most wonderful, strong hero in the entire world, defeated the evil,
Mm-hmm.
racist, bigoted, communist, horse-sized duck. And everyone cheered.
Right. Okay.
I think that's a good title, right?
It's a
It like
little
rolls
long.
right off the tongue, sticks in your mind.
It's a little long, but
You think it's a little long?
right.
No, that's good. I like it.
Yeah. Hmm.
Fondue for $2 says it's worse than political, it's malicious. I mean, they're both, I guess. It's definitely, yeah, I guess when you say political, it can mean like, it's not personal, it's just politics. And this definitely does seem to be personal and political. So that's fair.
Hmm.
Is there anything? Oh, I don't know. So should we talk about the Candace Owens thing at all?
We can, sure.
Well, actually, I don't know. Like, so Candace Owens was fired
Was
or
she
let go.
fired? I don't. Yeah. So how did they announce this?
Well, Jeremy Boring, whatever his name is,
Mm-hmm.
basically announced on Twitter that Daily Wire, that Candace Owens no longer works for the Daily Wire,
Right. So that's not
essentially.
necessarily fired.
Right. They either fired or came to some kind of agreement about parting ways or something to that effect, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's. I mean, if it's amicable, a lot of times they say, we've agreed to part ways on good terms. We wish her the best of luck in her future endeavors, right? This
Yes.
whole Candace Owens, she don't work here no more. Like, that's a little, I mean, it does lean more towards you're fired.
Yes. All he said was Daily Wire and Candace Owens have ended their relationship. That's
Hmm.
all it said. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We broke up.
Hmm. But it's interesting. So a lot of people who haven't liked the Daily Wire for various reasons are, obviously siding with Candace Owens. The anti-Israel faction of the right is siding with Candace Owens now. And there's always questions about why exactly that happened because there isn't like no one has specified. And I don't think we're ever going to probably find out like the specific reasons what was going on behind the scenes. Obviously, there's always been tension, behind the scenes between Candace and Ben Shapiro. Candace kind of defended Kanye West when he said his going Death Con 3 on the Jews comment.
Kanye West is kind of responsible for Candace Owens. Kanye West, Candace Owens was a nobody when
Hmm.
Kanye West decided to start signal boosting her on Twitter and talking about, oh, her amazing YouTube channel and stuff.
Really?
And that is
I
when,
thought she was, I didn't know that. Wow.
no, she was a nobody. Yeah, she's a
Hmm.
total nobody. Kanye West called her out. She's like, oh my God, you're amazing, Kanye. I love you. I'd love to talk to you. Right?
Hmm.
So that is what kind of put her on the radar. Oh, look, she's friends with this giant celebrity, Kanye West. And this was all pre Kanye's insane,
His meltdown.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Right.
nobody knows. Everyone thinks he's just a reputable singer and someone who is embedded in the black community, a influencer in the black community. Look, this is great. He likes Candace, and Candace is a conservative. This is good for us. Let's get her, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So then she becomes big, and so Kanye West is pretty much responsible for that. Yeah,
Yeah. And well, I guess that's probably why during his meltdown she defended him.
of
But
course. Yeah,
she
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 owes
defended
everything to
him.
Kanye.
She defended him in a very dishonest way, in my opinion, because when he put out his going to go Death Con 3 on the Jews thing, she said, "Oh, it's dishonest that anyone thinks this is an anti-Semitic remark. He's very clearly just talking about he's going to go after like a specific individual, right? Which obviously that turned out to be completely fucking untrue because every single interview that Kanye did after that, he specifically said, no, I'm going after Jews as a group of people, not
Yeah,
individual
yeah,
people. And
yes.
Candace never, because she's a person with no integrity and is dishonest, she never said, "Oh, I was wrong. I apologize," or "I take back this." He was going after. No, she never did. She never did any sort of mea culpa on that whatsoever. And she still to this day lies about the situation and pretends like Kanye was going after some specific people, not just broadly being anti-Semitic.
Said she's a social climber. Okay,
Oh,
she
okay.
could care less if
All right.
Kanye West is anti-Semitic or not. She just wants to,
Sure.
clout shark off of him.
Right. But so there's this claim against Candace that a lot of people have been throwing around that she's anti-Semitic. Now, that claim is because of her defense of Kanye, which I don't see as anti-Semitic necessarily. It could be, but I see it more in the way that you see it, which is that she's just being a social climber. She sees him as a resource, as an asset, and also because she maybe feels like she owes him for helping her own career. So that's why
Right.
she's kind of going out of her way to make excuses, possibly. So I don't really see that as anti-Semitic. She had her weird comment in the past where she said that the problem with Hitler was that not that he wanted to make Germany great, but that he wanted to like invade other countries, which obviously ignores the fact about, well, he also wanted to kill a lot of the Jews and other people inside Germany. That was kind of a big problem, Candace. But I think to me, that was just her being retarded because she says retarded stuff all the time. I don't think that was necessarily her being anti-Semitic. And then the other, um, there's another clip. Oh, the other clip was her, talking about this kind of P. Diddy thing, which was, this claim about that there is like a group of people in Hollywood or in the music industry who are trying to blackmail and coerce essentially musicians to do whatever they want. And if you call out or you try to call them out, they'll defend themselves by saying you're just anti-Semitic. Now, the way that I saw the clip and the way that she was phrasing it on its own, I would say she's not really being anti-Semitic because she's not saying that there's Jewish people doing this. She's saying there's a group of people who are doing this, and if you attack them, they use anti-Semitism as defense, which that doesn't mean that you're
Good
anti-Semitic for
defense.
for saying that, right? So I don't know if I believe that Candace is anti-Semitic. I'd have to see better evidence of that. Um, but I do think she's an idiot and a grifter and a liar. when her and Ben got in their spat earlier, she responded by basically she's responded in a very dishonest way, where Ben Shapiro basically said, "Hey, if you have a problem, taking Daily Wire money, then you can always leave." And she like turned this around, like, "What do you talk?" Candace Owens. She remember this? She like put out a tweet where she was like something about you can't take money from like people and also follow the voice of God. Do you remember this tweet that she put out? Let me try to find
No,
this.
but it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Look, I don't. Candace Owens, I don't see as being remotely intelligent. I never have. I've never. She's a mean girl. She's a social climber. She's a user.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And I do think, and look, a lot of man. I can never say this because it makes the conservatives look bad, and it, they hate it. So maybe I just won't say it. Maybe I'll keep
Okay,
my
I
mouth
found a
shut.
tweet.
Oh, good.
So this was from last November. So
Saved
this
by
is
the
when,
tweet.
right. So this is when like there was kind of this disagreement between her and Ben, and Ben was kind of, there's a clip that went viral, which Ben saying kind of off the record, but to a crowd of people that he thought Candace was stupid in regards to her take on Israel. She said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye," it's Kanye reference, "when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake." And then she said, "No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Christ is king." Okay.
Yeah.
So
It
I
sounds
think
like
if,
bullshit.
right. So I think if you're going to have any level of sort of like honesty, um, honesty, obviously when she says you cannot serve both God and money, what she's referring to is the idea that like you can't, she was referring to the idea that, Daily Wire money would be trying to like push for her to be supporting Israel, but her consciousness or her religious idea would be for her pushing to not support Israel, right? Like it's very clear in that tweet, but that's what she's saying.
Right.
And so Ben Shapiro responded to that saying, "Candace, if you feel that taking money from the Daily Wire somehow comes between you and God, by all means quit." Okay. And so
Yes.
so then Candace, so what was Candace's response to this? Okay. What was Candace's response to this? She says, "You have been acting unprofessional and emotionally unhinged for weeks now, and we all have to sit back and allow it and have a tired and have all try to exercise exceeding understanding for your raw emotion. But you cross a certain line when you come for scripture and read yourself into it. I will not tolerate it." And then she went on further to claim that that her tweeting that out had nothing to do with the Daily Wire, and the Daily Wire is just randomly attacking her for quoting scripture, right? And to me, this is why I don't understand how anyone could support her at this point. This is the most blatant, obvious lie whatsoever. Obviously, her tweet about cannot serve God and money was in reference to the Daily Wire, and for her then afterwards to pretend like it wasn't is just, I don't even know how people could be such Candace Simps that they could just accept that bold-faced swallowing that lie that oh, the Daily Wire's attacking me for posting scripture. How dare they?
Yeah. Of course,
So
she's using the Christian shield, which
yeah.
I do think. I mean, she's only doing it because she knows that's an effective way to rally a hate mob against someone.
Hmm.
She's like, "Look, I'm a Christian. I'm being attacked. Ah, Christians, run to my defense. Get
Right.
them."
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. It's so
yeah.
clearly obvious that's what's going on here.
We always do.
And
We're like, we're centrist. Run to our. Oh, there is no.
yeah,
Everyone's embarrassed to
exactly.
be a centrist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Um, but so now because of her being fired and or let go or whatever's going on here right now, it's kind of like revived this whole concept, this whole conversation about the phrase Christ is king. Okay. Now, I'm sure you've heard this term before, Adam.
Christ
right?
is king.
Christ is king,
Look, I'm an atheist for Jesus. I believe
right?
Christ is king.
So, well, this is where the conversation is. And this is my take on it. The conversation is, what does this phrase mean? Is this phrase like a dog whistle for something else? So I've heard the term Christ is king be used in a religious sense, in a religious setting, in a religious context for various times throughout my life and never thought anything about it. It was
Mm-hmm.
kind of used in a context of believing that, for Christians, believing that Jesus is, the ultimate essential authority over their life and their moral system and blah, 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 blah. Right. I mean, it makes sense if you're a Christian, right, to
Mm-hmm.
have those thoughts and feelings. But more recently, I have seen certain people that are usually either groypers or dissident right people who are anti-democracy and are pro either a king or pro theocracy. I have seen them use the phrase crisis king very specifically in a political context to push the idea that we should not be living in a secular democracy, but that we should be living under some kind of religious theocracy, that Christianity should be embedded in our laws in America.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And it's annoying because a lot of people don't know that, or they're playing coy and dumb about it. And it's very reminiscent to me of sort of like Black Lives Matter or defund the police or any of these other things. So basically, like you have this phrase like Black Lives Matter, or even the pride flag, where it's like, okay, even if the phrase Black Lives Matter doesn't mean anything necessarily bad on its face, it means that Black Lives Matter too, right? That's sort of how it could be interpreted. I think that's how it was originally meant. And it can mean that in a certain context. It definitely kind of ballooned past that, and it kind of became a message for a sort of more radical leftist perspective about, living in white supremacy and CRT and all this other stuff. It kind of became a blanket phrase that encompassed a different idea than what it originally represented. And I think the pride flag is kind of the same thing. The pride flag was just sort of like, oh, acceptance of people that are LGBT, and now it's sort of ballooned greater into sort of this political statement about having to accept all the various, non-binary gender identities, having to accept the idea that kids should be able to transition. There's so many things that can be associated with it where that people can read into it. And it's like a thing that means different things to everyone that looks at it, essentially.
Sure. Yeah.
And the problem with these like this, like with the pride flag, with Black Lives Matter, with defund the police, all these things, is that essentially what you do is you have like a radical movement that is using the phrase in some dog whistly way or some political way. And the people that don't realize that it's being utilized in that way, they would rush to defend the use of the pride flag. They'd rush to defend the use of the term defund the police or Black Lives Matter or whatever. Because they'd say, oh, well, from my interpretation of it, because I don't know like all the back lore and the context, like it means this innocuous thing. So I'm going to defend it. And that's essentially what's going on right now with this whole crisis king thing. Because I've only seen primarily in a political context, as I said, basically groypers and dissident right theocrats use this term in reference to government. And now that people are pointing that out, even people on the right are pointing that out, a bunch of people on the right who I guess are either not, are just not familiar with that context are like, what do you mean? Why are you attacking this phrase? It doesn't mean that. It just means this religious thing. We're just completely ignorant about kind of the way it has been utilized by this group of people. And it kind of allows cover and subversion by this sort of extreme group of people.
Right. Deliberate
Right.
subversion by the people who are using the saying covertly, and
Yes.
useful idiot cover by the people like Candace Owens who are just like tweeting it out to her 4 million followers or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
How come I
Yeah.
can't find Candace Owens on Twitter? I have to
I don't know. She's there.
yeah, I'm trying to figure out how many. Let's see how many followers she has. I mean, she's huge, but look, she's huge
It's under
because
real Candace. Oh, maybe that's what
look,
I can't find.
so she has almost 5 million followers, but that's completely because of of Yee, Kanye
Mhm.
West. Yeah, like I think Kanye West has like 25 million followers or whatever. So look,
Right.
as soon as Kanye West tweets I really like this person. And that's basically what he tweeted out. I really like what Candace Owens has to say. Like, that's a celebrity endorsement from a fucking international superstar.
Right.
You're like made. You're completely made after that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So look, and I don't know if you know this, but Kanye West is a giant, like, Christian. Like, he tried to basically run his entire presidential campaign on, I'm the Christian candidate. Why do you think Candace Owens is such a big time Christian? I don't remember her being a big time Christian when she debated Blair White. I don't remember
No.
Christianity
No.
coming up at all, right?
Well, there's a clip someone posted. I think it was her talking to Joe Rogan or something, and he was saying, and it wasn't that long ago, and he was saying like, oh, they were talking about Charlie Kirk being evangelical, and he's
Right.
like, oh, does he believe that like Jesus like literally came back to life, 3 days later and all stuff? And Candace is like, I don't know, like I don't know about any of that religious stuff.
Really?
So
Yeah.
yeah,
See,
so it is
look.
kind of interesting. I don't know what changed her mind here, but
What? Come on, Sitch. You know what changed her mind. You know what changed her mind. Look, I'm friends with a billionaire, and
right,
he's a
right,
big time Christian. She's doing the
hmm
exact same thing Vladimir Putin does.
right,
What do you like? Oh, I like that too. That's my favorite.
hmm
Yeah. It's so funny when people accuse us of clout sharking because, like, that is so far from my personality or Sitch's personality.
right, right,
Like, we're gonna. I mean, you can make the argument that we got a big boost from Sargon of Akkad, Carl Benjamin, when we
hmm
were starting our show. Like, he'd always hang out in the chat. He'd come on the show whenever, right? So look, a lot of his fans became our fans, right?
right,
Carl has gone further and further right, and I think a lot of the people who weren't willing to go with him further and further right have kind of stuck with us. But the idea that because Carl has helped us out tremendously, that we're going to just start simping his political views, or like, that's just it's laughable. It's
hmm
completely laughable. But there are people who do that, man. They suck up to a celebrity. They're like, "Oh my god, this is my meal ticket. Kanye West, I'm a born again evangelical." I
right,
mean, when Charlie Kirk is doing it, you're like, who's Charlie Kirk? Like, right? Where's he going to be in 10 years? It's Kanye fucking West. I mean, he's got to be like, how many Grammys does Kanye West have, right?
hmm
Like, he's huge. Candace Owens knows that. Candace Owens is on the Kanye West tit,
right,
where she will remain for the rest of her life. Look, and you could make the argument. Look, I don't have any evidence for this, obviously, and I'm just speculating. But Kanye West did a very public, like, anti-Semitic tour that I think Ben Shapiro and a lot of the people at the Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring, I mean, they were not that into it. It was making conservatives look like schmucks, right?
hmm
And they probably got into that. That probably began the rift here between Candace Owens and the Daily Wire.
hmm
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Kanye West asked her directly and said, "Look, pick sides. Whose side are you on? Are you on their side? The Jews that are controlling everything?" That's what Kanye West is saying, right?
right,
I made you, Candace. You owe me. I would not be surprised if those kind of conversations took place.
hmm
Would that surprise you, Sitch?
It wouldn't
Is this
surprise me.
wild speculation
No, I
here?
mean,
Conspiracy
Kanye
theory stuff?
Kanye would 100% say something exactly like that.
Right.
So,
Yeah, exactly. Look, and Candace Owens knows that. He's like, look the the argument that Kanye West might possibly make is, look, the like Kanye West believes the Jews control the media.
hmm
Candace, you're working for the media. Who are you working for?
right,
Right?
right.
This shit writes itself, man.
Well,
Look,
it's
I got
also
a Daily Wire movie pitch here.
there you go.
Talk to me, guys.
So it's also, I mean, it's weird because like, so I guess because Ben Shapiro is like the most famous person on Daily Wire,
Mhm.
um, it gets like associated with like Daily Wire is Jewish when, first of all, Jeremy Boring, who's the CEO of Daily Wire, is Christian. Okay, he's not
Yeah,
Jewish.
yeah. I mean,
He is
I always think
he
he's
is
Jewish.
Christian.
It's weird that
Yeah.
I guess you're right. It is kind
He
of
he
weird.
he is Christian. He we have Matt Walsh, who's very Christian
Oh,
on
of course. Yeah.
the network. You have Michael Knowles, who's very Christian on the network. You have Andrew Klavan, who was born Jewish but then converted to Christianity on the network.
No
So it's
way.
like,
He's a Jew
yes.
for Jesus.
No, he's not Jew for Jesus. That's a different thing.
He was born Christian. He was born Jewish though and converted to
And
Christianity. That's what
converted to
you said.
Christianity. Yeah, that's not a Jew for
That's
Jesus.
oh, well, what's the difference?
Jew for Jesus is a weird sect of like Christianity slash Judaism that are like people that claim that they're Jewish, but that they believe that Christ is the Messiah. It's not a
Yeah,
Jew
they're
who
Jewish.
converted to Christianity.
There's a little, I mean, I've met some Jews for Jesus, and there are Jewish people that convert to Christianity that call themselves Jews for Jesus. But
Okay. It's like a specific Jews for Jesus is a specific denomination.
okay,
The Andrew Klavan is not a Jew for Jesus denomination. He just switched to being some
Mhm.
normal denomination of Christianity.
Right.
So
But he
he
is a
was Jewish.
He is Jewish ethnically who
Right.
converted to Christianity.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think people do colloquially call that Jews for Jesus, even
Oh,
though
they
I
might.
think,
They might.
yeah.
But you probably shouldn't.
Oh, you think it's in bad taste?
No, I'm
Okay.
not. It's just
Look,
it's confusing because Jew for Jesus is a different thing.
let's look it up. Look, am I going to get in trouble?
They're
Jews?
not just
I mean, I've seen when I was in college, there was like the Jews for Jesus would put up posters and do like talks and stuff like
I
that.
know,
So it
but I'm
wasn't
just saying.
like,
Okay, Jews for Jesus was founded by Moshe Rosen, a Baptist minister of the Hebrew Christian movement, um, in the 1970s.
okay,
Jews for Jesus claim to synchronize Jewish heritage and Christian faith into spiritual harmony. They believe faith in Jesus is a viable expression of Jewish life. So, like, if you're a Jew for Jesus, you're trying to basically merge some aspect of Judaism with some aspect of Christianity, right? That's very
right.
different than someone who was born Jewish, who then says, I'm going to be baptized and convert to Christianity, and they become like a Baptist or an evangelical or whatever the fuck Andrew Klavan is.
Look, it says
Understand?
Jews for Jesus is an international Christian ministry organized headquartered in San Francisco that is affiliated with the Masonic Jewish religious movement. The group is known for its proselytism of Jews and
Right.
promotion of the belief that Jesus was the Son of God. So look, if Andrew Klavan isn't a Jew for Jesus, the Jews for Jesus got to him and said, "Look, you're
Well, they missed
Jewish."
out. It says according to Wikipedia, he converted. He's now an Anglican, so he's not a Jew for Jesus. He's an Anglican.
Oh, okay,
So
okay, but
there you
anyway,
go. But anyway, so one other thing I want to say about the Crisis King thing that is important to point out, and I should say this in defense of Candace, even though I don't like her whatsoever. In her original tweet that I read where she said Crisis King, I don't think it was I don't believe it was an anti-Semitic intention, and I don't even believe it was in sort of a um, dissident right theocratic intention. Because in the context of it, she was just kind of making this statement about taking money versus that would go against her principles of God. And so therefore, when she says Christ is king, she'd be more referencing like more not like from a political standpoint, but she'd be referencing it in the standpoint of it's the king, it's the primary attribute which a person would, follow morally in their life. So I don't think she meant it in that context. And I do think part of the problem is that I have seen people try to say that her saying it there in that moment was an anti-Semitic dog whistle. And I don't think that's true. And so the fact that people had made that claim, unfortunately, has now allowed the conversation where there definitely are people that are saying it, not necessarily anti-Semitically, there are people that are saying anti-Semitically, but people that are saying it in an anti-Semitic context and people that are saying it in a theocratic context. And now because they wrongfully, in my opinion, attacked Candace for saying it, it's basically now helping provide cover for people that are using the phrase in sort of a bad context in a bad way. So
I mean, she's friends with Kanye West. Like, she's who is Kanye's West campaign manager?
Nick, no, it wasn't Nick Fuentes. It was
You're
Milo,
right.
wasn't
It
it?
was Milo
Yeah,
Yiannopoulos, but
yeah.
Nick Fuentes was
Nick was there. Nick was there. Yeah,
exactly.
right.
So I
I'm just
just
listen. I'm just being fair. I haven't seen anything specifically yet of Candace being like super anti-Semitic.
look,
That
and
is
I
to
we,
my taste.
yeah, I agree with you. I don't think we should condemn people based on things that could go either way. Like it could be
Right.
innocuous, it could not be innocuous. Like she could be secretly signaling to everyone that she's like a huge Nick Fuentes fan, right?
Right.
I don't think I mean you need stronger evidence if you're going to make big accusations like that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if she's going to like try to start a podcast with Kanye West and Nick Fuentes. I don't know what's going to happen here.
Now, what I could see very likely happening is because of all this stuff with the Daily Wire, I could definitely see Candace going down the pathway to becoming, a graper or something in the future. I could definitely see like that potentially happening. I hope it doesn't happen, but I could definitely see that potentially happening. But I don't
I
think that would be like that. Oh, this is her, who she always was. So, I
I
mean, she,
do you remember when oh what fuck I can't remember his name. Steven Crowder. When Steven
Mhm.
Crowder had his blow up over his, the Daily Wire offered Steven Crowder, I believe, $50 million as some signing
Right.
deal
He
with them, and
got
he
very
turned it
mad by
down.
it. Yeah.
Right? Yes. But do you remember someone who got extremely butthurt over this whole ordeal was Candace Owens, and Candace Owens said, maybe it's time for me to renegotiate my deal with Daily Wire,
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that.
kind of implying the fact that she got fucked by the Daily Wire on her compensation.
Right. I
Nowhere
forgot about that.
close to $50 million, right? So you got to, I mean, leaving that out of this story, I think there's probably something going on with the financial compensation as well. She felt jilted over that. But I don't, who wants Candace Owens? Like who's throwing
Well, she's
money
very
at Candace?
popular, so I mean, I guess, it makes sense.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the popularity I think Daily Wire gives her a kind of reputability that she doesn't deserve.
I
And
agree. Yeah.
now that that's gone, and look, Kanye West gave her a reputability that she didn't deserve, and then proceeded to destroy his entire reputation. So I don't
Right.
know. She's running on fumes with that deal. Where does
Hmm.
she? She's kind of just this. She is the ultimate clout shark. Like, where's her next source of clout for feeding? Where is
I don't
it?
know. It's a good question. I
Yeah,
mean, if because she might, and that's why I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised if in like 6 weeks, 6 months from now, she ends up becoming some kind of like dissident right figure, is because if that's where she can get the eyeballs, that's where she can get the clout. I think she'll go whatever direction she can, and it's not like she doesn't have a past history of switching sides when she gets attacked by one side. That's kind of her whole entire MO. But she got attacked by the left, and then suddenly she switched and became like super far right, or super, I shouldn't say far right, but she just became like super right wing. So
I sent you a tweet that the ADL tweeted out. I don't know if you've seen it.
I had seen it. Yeah, the ADL basically was trying to accuse her of anti-Semitism just because Nick Fuentes was basically celebrating her conversation, which I haven't seen, with that rabbi guy who's kind of like unhinged.
Right.
And I don't think that's fair that just because Nick Fuentes is praising her, that means that she's automatically doing anything anti-Semitic. So I didn't think that was like a very fair. I mean, obviously it's ADL
This
and
is
Media
totally
Matters are not a
unfair.
fair, yeah, are not a
Of
fair
course.
organization.
Yeah.
So
Look, ADL is slime. Like, this is
yeah,
a complete, like, spurious attack. Yeah.
right,
I
right.
only bring it up because I'm pointing out that, like, there's no way she can go back to the left. You said she's notorious
No,
for
no, no.
flipping
I'm sorry. I
sides.
didn't mean that she'd go back to the
Yeah.
left. I mean that she would go to become more dissident righty.
Okay. So you're
If she
saying she's
gets,
going further right.
I'm saying that that's very possible. Yeah. If she gets attacked by like more mainstream right, maybe she'll go become dissident right. Like I could definitely,
Right.
I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, 6 weeks, 6 months from now.
Well, no, I could see her crafting a narrative that conservatives used me, saying basically, look, they wanted me to be the black female face of conservatism. And once I got
Oh,
wise to it,
oh, okay.
yeah,
All
look,
right.
that's a narrative that the left just, oh, they could sink their teeth into. They love that narrative. Are you kidding me? They're constantly saying that narrative all the time. And Candace is the perfect mark for look, she'll say anything, right?
Hmm.
So she could definitely latch into that narrative.
Right.
But this whole ADL attacking her makes me think, well, is that a viable option for her? I'm not necessarily sure if it is.
Well, I think it is. Well, I'm not so inclined to believe it. I mean, if that happens, I think it's 100% grift, which is definitely possible for Candace.
She is
No,
100%
no, no, I know,
she's
I
a
know, I know, I know. But it's funny.
1000% a grifter.
So someone else I know had made this exact same prediction, Adam,
Oh,
that kind of that
really?
you were alluding to, or that they were saying that they were predicting. This is it's funny because they actually predicted this even before this whole Daily Wire
Oh,
firing thing.
props to them.
Yeah, they are predicting that Candace would, in the future show up and be like, "Oh, I was brainwashed by the right to hate black people," and blah 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 blah, and kind of go full left wing again.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if that happens, that'd be the most. I kind of want that to happen because it'd be the most hilarious outcome. But I'm a little skeptical that that would
Get
happen.
ready. Get ready for it. I don't know.
I hope it happens. It'd be
I
very
think that's
funny.
plausible. I'm putting it at maybe
It's
70,
plausible.
80%.
Listen, it's possible. It's not. I'm gonna put that at like the 20% range. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
I'm putting that at 20% range.
Well, look, we got a nice, we could make a nice bet forming up here.
No, I'm not confident enough to bet on this. Okay, I'm not confident on this at all to bet. So
Right. Okay. Well, this is a fun developing story. We'll see what happens.
yeah.
It'll be interesting. I think right now, Candace Owens has a bunch of young kids, and I think one of the reasons why, look, this is the fairest thing I'm ever going to say about Candace Owens, but I think one of the reasons why her commentary is suffering now is because she's got a bunch of younguns. So family life is
Mm,
probably taking its toll on her being well read on any of the drama going on.
that's a good point.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Though
So I mean,
I
she
think
might just drift back and do family stuff for a bit and then
right.
rebrand 6 months to a year from now.
That could be a wise idea. But I think you're right, and I totally forgot about the whole Steven Crowder thing. Maybe all this stuff, and maybe even her kind of doing Christian virtue signaling, maybe her even being kind of anti-Israel. I mean, if you want to be very conspiratorial about it, it's just like very, complete mind reading conspiracy. But maybe that was all just like her faking a position in order to try to get let go by the Daily Wire because she was not happy with the contract.
It could be. Yeah, it could
So,
be. She might have actually went in there trying to renegotiate that contract from a complete narcissistic perspective. I mean, look at this graphic she uses on her podcast.
mhm.
Is it does this just not scream narcissist?
Which one? The yellow
Her
picture?
Yeah, the gold one. Like she's like a Egyptian queen. It just screams like
Uh-huh.
she looks like some you know
Why don't you make me
high
look like that, Adam? I want to look
some
like that.
fashion model.
I want to look like that on this video. Okay. Make me look like an
Oh my
Egyptian
god. Just what we
king.
want.
Yeah.
We want to make ourselves seem as pretentious as possible
Yes.
on YouTube.
That's my authority. Okay. My authority comes from my Egyptian holy lineage.
This is so off brand for us.
You don't
I
like that?
can't believe this. Just optically,
Hmm.
this belongs on the left. How is this conservative? Like
You're
I think
right.
of conservative as like blue collar, like
Yeah.
trad wife. What the fuck is this?
It looks, it's weird. It looks very much like a commercial for like Vogue
Yes.
or like makeup or something. Like that's what it reads to me. So yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. Anyway,
Hmm.
Candace Owens, the biggest cheerleader in the world for conservatism? No, for Candace Owens.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, do we have any more super chats? I saw, look,
We do.
our executive producer. Thank you, J-Mac. Jeez.
Our surrogate father, J-Mac, thank you so much, Daddy J-Mac, for the $200. Oh my God. Says you guys should look at Jeremy Boring and Andrew Tate's back and forth about Crisis King on Twitter. It's kind of on the same topic. All this right wing infighting is the same as the left wing infighting. It shows that the wider margins of difference are amplified and there's no enemy to attack at the time.
Oh, such a great point. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I actually
Well,
did see their kind of back and forth on Twitter. I
mhm.
thought it's kind of ridiculous. Let me see if I could bring it up.
We were kind of talking about this too on my in my pre-show rant.
Mm-hmm.
We Sitch and I obviously on the Sunday show talked about progressives, conservatives, and libertarians. And whenever you're having these broad conversations about the broad differences between them, you kind of are forced to make generalizations that I would never make with individuals, but inevitably someone comes into the comments and is like, I identify as X, and therefore I have all the intuitions and ability to speak for everyone in category X, which is just not a good argument because there is so much variation always in group X, whatever it is. And JMax super chat definitely points that out. It's like there's
Right.
a, there's a wide variety of Christians out there who will
Sure.
argue and disagree over all kinds of things. Yeah.
So Andrew Tate tweeted out, as a Muslim, it warms my heart to see the resurgence of spirited Christian declarations, which makes absolutely no sense, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
Christ is king. It's weird to hear Muslims say that. And I pray Christianity regains its strength and protects societies against the pervasive and constant erosion of morality by the devotees of Satan. If you accept everything, you stand for nothing. I mean, that statement to me makes me think that, well, further should like show you that Andrew Tate's Muslim beliefs are all bullshit anyway, but okay. So Jeremy Boring, in response, said, if you take your cues about morality from a man who uses sex to manipulate women into doing pornography for his profit and then sells a course teaching others to do the same, all while lying about his wealth and boasting about his sexual conquest, you deserve the contempt he holds you in for being as foolish as he counts on you being.
Candace Owens said that?
No, no, no. Jeremy Boring said that about Andrew Tate.
I was going to say that's pretty based and smart for Candace Owens.
Right, right. So, I mean, I think that's a pretty, I agree completely with Jeremy there,
Yeah, me
100%. So
too.
it's kind of
Me too.
hilarious to try to, anyone to point to Andrew Tate as some kind of like moral arbiter on any issue about anything.
Yeah, especially when you're just basically using people and teaching other people how to use people.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
just so gross.
Yeah. I mean, Andrew's never come out and said, like, I found God and I repent about the fact that I was basically using and abusing women and men and lying to them and basically being degenerate and living an awful, sinful life. He's never done that. It's so weird. He just keeps bragging about it, trying to sell other people to brag about it, and then pretends to be religious on top of it. And like some people fall for it. It's so weird. It's such an obvious grift, I guess, to me.
Yeah. Tribalism. Hell of a drug.
Ryan Owl for $10 says the quackening. Leaves it open to the sequel, The Quackening 2. Quack this. There
Oh,
you go. That's a
yeah.
pretty good title. I like that.
The only thing I don't like about it is a famous villain on the show is Quackers.
That's
So
true.
I don't want to dilute our Quackers brand.
Mm, mm,
Quackademic agent.
right.
That's, yes.
Duke of Salvalax for €2 says the Fifth French Republic versus Candace Owens 1-0. There you go.
I don't know what that means, but I do like.
Speaking of the quackening, Quacker for 10 months. Look at that.
Oh, look.
No relation, though. Says, I never liked Candace Owens. She is only big because older conservatives are too focused on race. Good for the Daily Wire. Also, thanks Daddy J Mac for the 10 months. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I don't like to say it. I don't like to say the race thing because it does make conservatives look bad, and that's not my goal.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think there are some conservatives who are obviously not racist and just want to signal that they're not racist by, look, we love this black woman conservative. She's
Right.
amazing.
Right.
But I just, that when that kind of takes over for actual substance, that's when you lose me. Because look,
Hmm.
if Candace Owens was like the female Thomas Sowell, yeah, I'm in with both feet, man. That's amazing,
Right.
right? But she's just not. She's like dense, obviously, like a clout shark. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. She doesn't believe any of this stuff. I don't think she feels any of this stuff. Yeah,
Dialogue always for $5 says it's pretty funny watching the same people that joked about the OK sign and they quote "It's okay to be white" are losing their minds over "God is king." LOL. Are they the same people? It's not the same people. What do you mean?
it's different people, right?
It's the same people that. Hmm. It's different people. Yeah, I'm not sure.
But I think he's saying that the God is king is like it's okay to be white. It's like something
I
they're
mean,
saying to trigger
I
people.
guess
Yeah,
maybe. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's some people are using it in that context. I guess
yeah.
sure. J-Mac, our circuit file for $20 says Adam is right. Candace is just a mean girl. That is a textbook mean girl ploy. There you go.
Exactly. Yep.
Yep.
J Mac knows.
Cameraman 502 for $10 says, quote, Christ is king is a Christian phrase particularly used around Palm Sunday, which was yesterday. People using it as an attack are blasphemous, but attacking its use this weekend was ill-advised. No, that's a good point. That is a good
Because of
point.
the
Yeah.
holiday? Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
perfect
that's a good
sense.
point.
I got no
Sketch,
problem saying it. Christ is king. Look,
good for you.
forgiveness is king. Right, Sitch?
No. Sketch for $5 says if shouting Christ is king like it's BLM is what makes someone conservative, then call me Anna Kasparian because I guess I'm not on the right anymore. There you go. Uh, Perditions for $2 says all lives matter isn't political first. Okay sign as well.
Yeah,
There
people
you
try
go.
to make it political. I
Right.
mean, the All Lives Matter was an attempt to show that race doesn't have to be political,
Hmm.
but everyone's like it's in juxtaposed.
Metal Face Rose for $2 says, have you listened to Coleman Hughes's music? I didn't even know he was doing
No,
music.
I
No,
have not. Yeah,
I'll check it out. It's interesting.
I was contemplating getting his book, but I recently got Rob Henderson's book, and I was super super excited about it. And it was such a letdown that I'm starting to think, look, a lot of these people that have podcasts that do books, all the material is already in their podcast. So you're basically sitting down for 7 hours to listen to rehashed podcast material in
Mm.
book format.
Hmm.
So I don't know that I'm going to read Coleman Hughes's book.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
fair enough. Itcha Savvy for 7 months says, seems everyone forgot about the live action Avatar adaptation before you guys got around to covering it. LOL. Yeah, it was kind of interesting. It got a lot of like viewership and people like talked, like it went in and out. Like people talked about it like super quick and then it disappeared. And I guess maybe that's just because it all got released at the same time. And maybe that was
Mhm.
like a bad strategy for doing that to like generate. But I guess maybe it's a good strategy because it can simultaneously get hype and criticism out of the way really quickly. So
What is a good day of the week? Maybe we should just cover, maybe we should make like Wednesday the day that we do movie stuff. And instead of looking for political stories, you look for movie stories. Maybe that's a good way to kind of
yeah, maybe.
jump into it.
Yeah.
I don't know what other movie channels, like there's a bunch of other, obviously Mahler, there's Gary Nerdrotic, there's the Critical Drinker. I don't know when those guys stream or what their streaming schedule is. I think Gary might stream every day at noon, so
Hmm.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it will hurt us just starting if we're streaming like when another big show is streaming at the same time. So that's the only
Hmm.
reason why I bring it up. Yeah. But maybe you guys can let us know in the comments if you got ideas.
Perditions for $20. Thank you. Says S class is best class. Thank you. Not today. I don't know if you're saying it's not today or not. But Candace may be deluded, not a grifter if she believes what she says. That's important reality for people to contend with. Christ is king, all lives matter, and the OK sign aren't to be politically primarily. The Christ is king thing isn't supposed to be uh, politically primarily, but people can use it in that context, obviously. In terms of the all lives matter and the OK sign, I mean, I would say the OK sign was primarily used as a joke troll, so not politically. The all lives matter was really a commentary against an interpretation of Black Lives Matter, which you could say is fixated on the culture war, which I would say is politically primarily. So I'd say the all lives matter one is the only one I would disagree with you. Spencer Harmon for $20. Thank you, Spencer. Says, Adam, you're completely off about Candace and the Kanye timeline. She was already working for the Daily Wire before Kanye said that. Candace has got more religious as she has become a mother.
Okay.
That makes sense. That's possible. Oh,
So she was at Daily Wire when Kanye shouted her out. Okay.
Well, there you go. I mean, it's still she was still. I'm sure that still was a great boon to her and possibly helped ingratiate her into defending him.
Of course.
RBGH fan for $10 says, "Hey guys, isn't character assassination whataboutism? I thought Candace and Ben's disagreement was over Israel's governments collectively punishing people that aren't Hamas. Character assassination isn't whataboutism. Character assassination is an ad hom and can be a logical fallacy in terms of some sort of debate. If you're using it to say like, I don't have to attack someone's position, I'm going to just attack their character. So that's what it would be. It's not whataboutism, but it's an ad hom.
But character assassination can be coupled with whataboutism when you're like,
sure.
But what about the Democrats and their horrible behavior? Right?
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. They can often, and maybe often is often couple like you whataboutism into a character assassination.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I see that a
that's
lot.
true. Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure maybe their disagreement was over whether they viewed, because I'm assuming Ben's position is that he doesn't believe that Israel is doing collective punishment. So I'm sure that's part of their disagreement. Brian for $5 says it's not that Candace will get more right wing after this, but that she will become more anti-establishment. Yeah. I definitely could see her going down that pathway. Neckbeard and the fam, thank you, J Mac, for another $50.
Hey, look at this.
He's trying to get around the oppressive YouTube system. Says, side note, it was an awkward conversation I had with my mother when she asked me if I wanted to meet Candace with her and my dad. I had to explain to her why I dislike her. Normie conservatives just see her as a fighter and a black woman who goes against progressives. True.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
That's what makes the grift so successful.
They don't know
Nobody digs too deep. Yeah.
Right.
Which that makes my argument that no one is actually watching her show. It's just like, oh, this is great.
Well, as I said, she's very good at framing things in a way that like her audience will be very galvanized and energized by.
Mm-hmm.
So, My Dumb Movies for 17 Months says it's weird not hearing harmonica and at the end of weekday shows. If only there was another song, perhaps Blunt P Fly related, that you all could play.
Look at this. Someone's trying to pitch their song.
There you go. That was a good song. That was a very good song. Solo Doge for $5 says the other half of Christ of King discourse is that Candace supporters were spamming Ben's videos and tweets with it. So Jeremy had to say it was harassment. Oh, that's interesting. Well, I guess I have to see like what happened first? Were people attacking the usage of the term Christ is King and that's why they were spamming it in response? Or were they spamming it first and then people were saying, why are you spamming this like randomly out of nowhere? Because that would definitely, to me, change the context of why people were spamming Christ is King. So Metal Face Rose for $2 says Candace will convert to the Black Israelites or the Nation of Islam. Now that would be pretty fucking hilarious if that happens.
That would be hilarious.
Not Dan for $5 says Candace's downfall at Daily Wire began when Brett Cooper blew up overnight with the TikTok aesthetic. Maybe. Death by Sloth for $2 says can't deny that Candace is a world-class harumpher. There you go.
Harumpher, what does that mean?
It means that she's good at harumphing.
Oh yeah.
Harumph. That one guy for €5 says, "Hi Sitch, how was Purim? Did you get wasted as Hashem intended? Also, have you started cleaning your shemets? S class is the best class." Well, I hate to admit it. That one guy, I hate to admit it, but I actually completely forgot it was Purim the other day until you said something. So I guess that's how my Purim was. I didn't even know that it was Purim until you mentioned it. So there you go. Simon Allen for £5 says, for yesterday's stream, listen to today. Well, thank you, Simon. Fondue for $10. Thank you, Fondue. Says the OK sign was a joke about how the left makes everything political that they fell for completely. I don't know if it's fair to say it's not political if it was political bait. When I say political, I mean it was like you're right. It was a joke. It was a troll. I don't know. To me, a troll seems different categorically than saying something is political. I don't know if I could quite define these terms and very clearly, but intuitively to me, it's a political troll, I guess. It is definitely related to the category of political, but I would say it's a troll first and foremost, if that makes sense, categorically, before I say it was political. But, there's a lot of overlap there. Angel Elevation for $5 says, Semite is an obsolete term referring to anyone who speaks Arabic or Hebrew. Therefore, calling someone an anti-Semite could refer to anyone who hates Arabic speech. Yeah, I know that's like the derivate, like the origin point of the term, but obviously no one uses it in that way anymore. I don't know when the change occurred, but people my entire life, whenever they said anti-Semitic, means very specifically anti-Jewish. I've never heard anyone mean it in terms of like anti-Arabic. So Dialogue always for $5 says, how does a person that denies the moon landing become more anti-established? That's a fair point.
That's a great super chat.
That's a fair point, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they could become a flat earther or like a space isn't realer, right?
Oh my God. Is this true? Does she deny the moon landing? That's insane.
Does she?
Is it?
I mean, it's pretty funny.
Is it? What wasn't her contribution to the Daily Wire some... Oh no, she was questioning the Netflix documentary. That was her. All the Daily Wire personalities have to come up with some independent documentary piece in addition to the content that they create for the Daily Wire once a year, every 12 months. Mm-hmm. And Candace Owens created this like anti-Netflix television show. I guess it's not a television show because it's not actually on TV, but you get what I mean, like episodic 1-hour episodes. And it was going after that Netflix show that we've talked about where the guy kills some woman and Netflix basically makes it sound like he's innocent. I can't remember the guy though.
Making a Murderer?
Yeah, The Making of a Murderer. Yeah.
Right.
Candace Owens did. She obviously read the book that I have talked about on the show that debunks that entire Netflix documentary. And she just copied that for her content.
Mm.
I mean, she did interview a bunch of people that are in the book and talk about how, yeah. I watched one episode of it and it was insanely boring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
I found the clip of her talking about the moon if you want to bring it up.
Sure.
It was
watch together, but
yeah, I put it in the watch together. It was
damn you.
David Pakman actually clipped it out. It was when she was talking to Bill Maher.
I have to make sure the audio is working on the watch together first.
Okay. You don't want anyone to attack you as a boomer. I get it. So we appreciate it.
Well, no, I did a little rewiring. I had an outro lined up, but now I have to go back and.
Oh, did you have the song? Yeah, you had the song right.
No, okay. No comment.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see.
Fair enough.
See here. Okay, back to the watch together.
Hello, and welcome to this week's.
Hello.
Oh my
Welcome
God.
to this. Did you put it
Why
in?
did you put her back in here?
I mean, she was in there from yesterday.
Yeah.
Do I have to hit the back button or the forward
No,
button?
here.
Okay.
Just to
That
be
feels a
clear,
little like.
Did that change it for you?
Yeah, it's changed.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah, go.
people did land on the moon.
I don't know.
Okay, there we go.
I don't know.
I do know.
I just want to know why we didn't go back.
We did go back
Did we go back? What year?
to the moon.
Were we people on the moon?
Okay.
I'm asking
now
a
who's
serious
ignorant?
question. When did we go? When did we go
We
back to
first
people walking?
landed.
See, this is how Candace Owens thinks. She's like, listen,
Yeah.
every single moon landing denier on the internet is in my audience. I've captured them. They listen to me. They listen to my show.
Mhm.
Of course, I'm going to continue to say this nonsense.
Right.
Yeah. Solidifies her power. Look, you don't get to 5 million followers on Twitter unless you start courting the moon landing didn't happen audience, right?
Right.
On the moon. 69. Okay.
July 20th, 1969.
Yeah.
We went back like 10 more times.
Who went back? Who walked on the moon?
America. You know,
No, but like, what were the astronauts' names? Educate me. Why
who
are
the
you?
fuck remembers what the astronauts' names were?
If this were fake, there would be so many countries.
Okay, I don't care about David Pakman's commentary,
No,
but that's hilarious.
David Pakman.
I love Bill's like, who the fuck remembers these people? Who cares? That's hilarious. Oh
You
my God,
remember
it's
that
the
America went to
best.
the moon. That's all you remember. You don't
Right.
remember the details of it.
Yeah.
And Candace Owens says, if you don't remember the details, it never happened.
Well,
Well,
everyone-
look
I
it
mean,
up on
everyone-
the internet, you
I
moron.
know. Everyone knows like Neil Armstrong was the first and Buzz Aldrin was, on
Mm.
Apollo 11 at the same time. I mean, I don't know. I'll admit, I don't know the single name of any of the other people that walked on the moon.
Yeah. It was Tom Hanks, right? Apollo 13, I remember.
There you go.
He's the
they
one
didn't
that
make
got
it. I don't know
cut.
if you didn't. Maybe you didn't watch the movie. They didn't make it to the moon.
No, I watched it. He got cucked.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. They did.
Look, and he even had to do his own math and stuff. It was terrible.
I know.
They didn't even have computers.
Terrible.
I know.
Terrible.
Look, and then talk about another clout chaser.
Names
here.
were.
If
Here's clout. This is clout chaser number 1 on the internet,
Right.
or number 2. It's Candace Owens, and then we should do a tier list on clout chasers. Sitch, that would be good content. David Pakman would definitely be in the top 10.
Mm.
Oh yeah. Let me just beat up on Candace Owens. She's a nice soft target.
I mean, listen, attacking Candace Owens for being not knowing about the moon landings is that's a fair target, right?
Yeah, but
Please
he's
stay
doing
away.
it because look, he's doing it because he's a sexist racist. Obviously,
Oh, I
mean,
see.
David
Okay.
Pakman is doing
Right.
it because she's a black woman, and
Wow.
David Pakman doesn't believe black women should be allowed to have shows on the internet.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, you didn't know
Yes,
this?
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah. Look, is he attacking anybody else? No,
No. He's never attacked a single white person ever, right?
of course not. Just go with me here.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, I can read minds, and David Pakman is doing it for racist reasons.
There you
That's
go.
all you need to know.
Cameraman 502 for $5 says literally no one has ever used the term anti-Semitism for anti-Arab. I mean, I've never heard it used in that context. So,
Right.
right. Anyways,
That's it.
that's it. Oh, wait, no. Dr. Diddler, thank you so much. The doctor of possibly diddling for $2 says Sitch's failure to work out has forced me to take drastic measures. I'm hereby calling for a temporary truce with this small child, Sammy, to get our fearless leader fit. Get yoked, not woke. That's right. Dr. Diddler's trying to get me to start exercising, and that's a good listen. I approve, man.
Do you? Are you going to start exercising?
Maybe.
Start a show.
I mean, I was trying to get Sammy on board, and then, I'm sure J-Mac will be on board. Everyone's going to be on board. They're all going to start bullying me and shit. Getting
Also,
big.
Sitch and Adam.
Okay, getting buff. Getting ripped.
We all say he's blunt to fly.
So do
No,
it.
he don't play.
Do it.
Blunt to fly. Get bluntified with blunty fly.
What are you laughing
What's
about?
up?
What are you giggling about?
What's up?
What are you giggling about? What's happening?
I'm playing the outro, man. It's based.
Oh, the bump. Okay.
it's a Blunty Fly
Can't hear
show.
anything. So, anyways,
Blunty Fly show.
thank you all for coming. We'll see you all
Blunty Fly
tomorrow.
show. Also with Sitch and Adam.
Yeah. We'll see you tomorrow, guys. Bye-bye.